filming and photographing like a pro, or at least like I do. So basically I do everything from my phone. I have a tripod and a MagSafe, which I spoke about it, and I have the links inside of the lesson. And now I want to show you exactly how I do for different reasons, different outcomes, and then you can see as if you were here with me in the studio. So I want to show you all my space. That's a new space, still quite bare and empty, but you're going to get an idea of exactly how do I hold my phone, what I do, the distance, how I position everything, and then I'll keep talking throughout this process, and I'll get the camera in an angle that I feel like can give you a lot of insights, and then I can also show the photos and the images as I'm going, so you understand why I'm doing each of the movements. So let's get into it. Okay, so now I want to show you a 360 of my studio. The camera is right in the middle, so that's the big window that I was talking about. Here is my light, which I'll show you more details. I'm gonna get a bit blurry. And then you can see the other area of my studio and all the way back here. So analyzing my studio, I always want to be near this big window. I have that background light that I mentioned before, and I have here my light that I've been using now. So now I'll show you where I'm going for the photos. So today is overcast and late, so that's why I'm using my light here, and I'm gonna turn it off just so that you see how much of a difference it makes. Look at that. So that's the difference of with light and without, now that the camera got back into focus. I'm gonna bring the light up again, and then I want to show you that's at 81%, and here is with not too many lumes. So look how I can get this cold by moving it this way. And then if I bring it back, it really looks nice and warm, more like an afternoon or like a morning light. And that's what I personally prefer. So that plinth that I have here is just an old one that I did some rendering to give some texture. And that's a corner of my studio that I wouldn't photograph unless I have a really good natural light, or now that I have my light. But I want to show you everything. So here's my tripod, and I'm gonna simply open. I have this one for quite a while now, and I'm gonna give you exactly the view of how I go. So I'm just opening it and getting it all ready. It's really practical, and often, to be honest, it's always open in my workspace, ready to go. So then the greatest thing, so again, let's just clean the camera. You just place it in, and then I'm gonna bring it here, open my camera, and look at it. Let's say if we're going for a photo, that's what we're gonna see. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so you can really see what I see in my phone when I'm photographing. So if I am to take pictures, not always I use the tripod. Many times I would simply just use it in a free flow with my hands, but I wanted to show you just to give a clear picture. Move it a little bit. That would be a simple shot, so you can always focus where you want, or let it do it by itself, but that's one really simple shot that I would go for. Now, I could bring it up a little bit, and these tripods are great because they can also give you the option of changing the angle. So a top angle would be something more like that, and that would give me another really good photo. And then I'll just drop it, so then we can talk about other angles. Just so then the angles, which is a simple thing, but makes the whole difference. you understand it better. So here would be an angle that gets the piece more from the bottom. And all these angles change the vibe completely. And then if I was to make a video of a static video of this piece, I often would come here, get the piece in focus and explore, bringing out, and then I could come back in, show some of the details of the piece, or even just come back and move around. Often with videos on a static situation like that, you want to try a few different movements, so then later you have it, and notice that now I'm in front of the light and creates a shadow there. We never want to do that, whether we're talking about a light that is a natural light, or whether we're talking about a light that is simply an artificial light like mine here. So every time that I'm photographing a static piece, I'm keeping mindful of my whole surroundings. And I want to show you now the difference. I'm going to move this plinth to another wall that's a neutral wall, so you can see how it changes a lot. So let's go there. So here I am. I changed my piece to this location. Then the things are, do you need a plinth? No, I from a long time use just a concrete block. If you're also photographing other things that are not ceramics, like canvas artworks, you don't need much. And do you need a light? No, you don't need a light. I decided to invest on one because for years I was always chasing the light, and I just realized that would save me a lot of time and make my practice more versatile, but not necessarily having just to go with the natural light. But give an idea here by looking at what I'm photographing. So I would go for something a bit close up because I don't want all that negative space. And then I want to show as well how it looks if I bring one more element of texture, like the curtain. So let's bring it back here, and I'm going to bring this piece into here, and then we can actually come in from the side here, and I'll show you the look. And it does create a different vibe by having some texture. And you can also play with having the wall and the texture. I'll show you from this angle how it looks. So here we have, again, that would be a photo. It's not a photo that is going too far out, but I like. And then if we were to get out of the tripod, things that I would do so you can really see. I would look for this other angle that is coming more from the bottom. I would look into the top angle, and I would look into going into some details. You can see so many little things. So in that way, even if you want to post just a hero photo, you can do a carousel, and you could do something like here, and then you could come in and get something like a detail one, and then you could really show the curve and the details by bringing it up. And that is how versatile and simple it can be to take some good shots with a very simple setup. And then if I was to create videos, I could just come also for a simple video and just come in and zoom into the piece. That can be a really short little reel, and it's very, very simple. So it doesn't need to be complicated. It's really getting to the practice. And now I want to show how I'll record myself with the tripod on the day-to-day in the studio. One sec, I'm going to change the setup. I also show the difference that the little curtain does. So that would be one angle for me. You can see that the wall tells a story, the curtain brings a bit of texture, and you have the table. That would be a more open angle. And then you can see that it does have a good amount of light coming in. And I would basically place my tripod or on a location like here to really capture something close. And I'll show you how it looks on that angle from my phone. Here would be me working in there. That is an angle. If I press video here, you can see that that would be a working angle for me. And I could just be here doing my work. I'll get my extra things to show. So let's just say I have here my table where I work, and I could just put a piece here to give you an idea. And that would capture lots of detail shots. I could also come to this side to get my work, and I always later on can zoom in when I'm editing and get in some little parts that on the whole picture here wouldn't really shot as a detail. So later on I can really bring it in. And then let's go back to the other angle that I was talking. That would be a bit more open. And I'll show you how much flexibility you have. Now I'll take the phone out just so you see how it looks out there. And then I'm placing my phone here. I always use some guidance so I know where my shot is. So here would be another really nice angle. You can see how much it has and how it shows a lot about what I'm doing. So I would just press video, and then I would come into frame and do my work and do what I'm doing. Could be like prepping things, could be cleaning things, could be doing my work. Like that, I have two different angles that I'm recording, which becomes like a formula. So you know your light, you know your work, you know what works best for you. And then, in case you don't want to show your face at all, you could always come from a side angle that's gonna get your hands working. Or you could come from a back angle that would also show you, if you really don't want to show your face, by all means. So there is possibility, you can work with it, gonna depend on how you go. And then like that, you can see that we created a couple of easy formulas that really shows a lot how I do it. And then here, if I zoom in as well, and that can be done later on the edit, I still have a really nice frame and focus that I can edit my videos with. And that's why I mentioned before, I prefer to shoot a bit more open. So I have that whole shot up, and then I can zoom in and create different angles. And when we are zooming in inside of the app and the editing, you can also choose if you're gonna go for one angle or the other. So it's quite versatile if we give ourselves space when we are recording. So that's where I go more often in this new studio. I could also come for a very close up and get some details here. But to give you perspective, I would go for an angle and a direct. That's my preferred way of shooting as I'm going in the studio, both for photos and for videos. And again, that's a very versatile tripod for me. It's light, I move everywhere. My phone just connects and disconnects. And then I just keep finding my way. This is a new studio, so I'm finding my way, but I do like to have the texture of the curtains. I have the table, a little bit of the color. It does tell a lot of a story. Because if I come a little bit too far, the image becomes too distant, and then I'm not quite telling the story. Other things that look good when we are recording is if we actually add, like I wouldn't go that far anyway, I would be like here. But if I add more elements into the shot, let's say, let me see how that's looking. Something kind of along those lines. In that way, can you see how much it changes the whole experience in camera? It tells a bit more of a story. It looks more natural and casual, which sometimes is the case, but we can also create those moments by putting other elements in that are part of the practice. So that changes a lot the energy as we there. So let me put myself in frame here. And then you see, retelling much more of a story than a full setting. So a little bit of chaos or mess or just props can really help a lot. So I hope that is like clear and you understand how my brain works when I'm shooting. And remember, once again, it's practice. So I know where my camera is now, so I would really just run, press play and leave it for a little bit and come back. And it becomes second nature, it doesn't become hard, and you can just look and see what you like, what you don't like from what you recorded, and every time you keep improving. So to me, capturing behind the scenes like that is a really important part of my process. And if I was to take pictures, I would just come here, again, frame myself, and then you just go for the timer. 3 is a bit of a hurry, so let's go 10 so I can keep talking. I would bring the focus up there, and then I could take that picture, that's what I said before, for the cover. So coming, and the picture can be you just moving. Sometimes if we don't really focus on like posing for the picture, you just keep working, you're gonna get a more natural picture. And if you don't want to put your face, again, just find an angle that works for you. And I think that kind of, to me, gets into shooting, angles, details, how I go. I want to, again, show, like now is really the end of the day, and I want to just show again, so you can see through the camera, how much the light changes everything. So, if I didn't have my light, that's how dark is here. And then if I had my light, the camera probably is just picking up on the light now. I hope that video that I made with showing this studio made sense to you. And the key things that I want to take is finding your angles, how you like yourself, how you photograph. Find 2 of them, so then when you're creating content, you can mix up with them. But if you have just one, it does work as well. You don't need to be every time recording from both angles. Just make sure that you find what works for you, what you like, how you look like, and all the details that will make you get started on recording your process, getting ready, preparing for post, whatever that might be that works for you. That's the formula that you need to figure out. Your space, your light, what works for you, so you get into the practice of doing it. And then we're gonna go next into editing, and I'll show you inside of my phone how I do exactly after collecting the content, the videos, and going back as well and mixing videos from other days. How does that work from my end, as if you were here with me, and then you can give a go from your end. So thank you, and I will see you in the next video.